What is up, everyone? I just wanted to give a couple of updates on one of the major discourses of the Smash Ultimate scene, which is Steve. Obviously, the PMLG stuff has, put the community into a tizzy. I made a video about, hey, Steve should probably be banned, or like at least the tech should be banned. The tech was banned at Collision. I don't think there were any instances of it, but one major thing happened, which is the fact that Let's Make Moves Miami has been the first major to officially ban Steve. I know Low Tide City has a Steve banned and Steve not banned bracket, and the Steve banned bracket is the side bracket. I don't exactly understand how that's going to work, because if more people enter the side event, don't know what's going to happen. But the dominoes are falling, essentially, regardless of what, I or anyone thinks. I know also, like, Coinbox banned Steve, but that's an online tournament, so it's less of a, necessarily an influential thing, even though Coinbox does have a lot of influence. But it's a little scary, obviously, right now to be Steve main, because a lot of people are banning the character. Obviously, a ton of locals have banned characters. Here's like this list of states and stuff that have banned the character. I don't know if this is updated, but I've seen multiple times of a bunch of locals banning Steve. I know the local that I normally go to has banned Steve, so I can't play Jake there. And again, now majors are starting to drop. And the thing is, I wonder if this is going to have a domino effect. A big thing that can happen is people are scared to make, like, the first big change, right? Like, if people started doing I feel like people talked about character first counterpicking instead of stage first counterpicking for a long time, but no one was willing to do it, and then like one major did it, and then now like half of the majors are doing it. So kind of one of those things where one person does this thing that's kind of scary to do, that's different. Obviously banning Steve is a little bit more extreme than changing how counterpicking works, but I feel like Let's Make Moves Miami doing it is going to cause ripple effect, because now TOs aren't necessarily scared to be the first one that made all of this happen, whereas I guess EMG was willing to be like, yeah, fuck it, we'll do it. I don't know if Steve is banned at Gommel, which is one of their other premier majors. I don't know if they've updated that, but I unfortunately expect other majors to follow suit. And it's a bit interesting, right? Like, obviously I've never been in a scene that actually banned a character. There were some Meta Knight banned majors, but they were like pretty rare. I won one of them actually, which was very cool. Shoutouts to Wobo. But it's very interesting to live in a scene where like actually someone is getting banned, whether it's for PMLG or PMLG was just the excuse. Like, it doesn't unfortunately matter, and there was a lot of controversy about this whole thing, right? And like, it is unfortunate, obviously, that a character has something that is so silly that we're considering banning it, and now tournaments are banning the character, like not just locals but majors. Locals banning Steve is a little interesting to me, because it's like, oh, if majors didn't ban Steve, then you're just eliminating your scene from having matchup experience, which means that they're going to do worse versus Steve players. But if majors are starting to ban him, then it looks like it is unfortunately going to be, unless there's a ton of majors that keep him legal that haven't announced yet, I'm not 100% sure what's going to be happening with that, but it just looks like it is the beginning of the end for Steve. And I feel like this wasn't enough just to make its own video, but it is an update. And I kind of wanted to talk about as well the Palatina debate that's happening on Twitter, Palatina versus Incineroar, right? I've seen a lot of Palatina mains say, oh, doing well with Incineroar, who's a worse character than Palatina, is easier than doing well with Palatina because of the meta of the game. And I'm probably going to honestly make a more in-depth video about this, because it's kind of what I talk about in terms of like the tier list versus the characters that do well in tournaments tier list. They're not necessarily the same thing, and some of them they're merged, right? Like, people thinking Kazuya's super broken, it's because he's a great tournament character, even though he technically does have flaws and maybe isn't the best character, right? And it's why characters like Wario always are like, yeah, we lose a ton of matchups, but then you get Wafto, it doesn't matter, and Rob loses 25 matchups, but it doesn't really matter because he's Rob, and he's going to down tilt you and then grab you at 70 and up tilt up air you if you can't mash. I feel like there's a big shift in what people are considering in terms of like important for just existing in a tournament setting, right? You need to be able to kill early, and you need to be able to force mistakes. Palatina, she's really strong in neutral, right? It's very hard for Palatina to do something wrong necessarily, but she doesn't have the entirely threatening options that a bunch of other characters have, which is kind of the point, right? She doesn't have revenge, she doesn't have side B, she doesn't have, she's not as powerful like by itself, like the moves that kill you as someone like Incineroar. This is the one time that an Incineroar has done really well in an offline major, and I don't want to discount all of the Palus that have ever done well, considering like Louis Money and Chag exist, especially in the modern era, and also like Chase has done pretty well. Like, he won the fucking Arcadian, which is a big deal. So I don't really want to discount the Palatina's results, but it is very interesting to me that people consider like very strong neutral not as important as strong punish game. And hey, I mean, we saw Leo versus Riddles. That's pretty much a big thing of it, right? Like Leo has a better neutral than Riddles. No offense to Riddles, it's just Leo's neutral's really good, but Riddles has the punish game on lock, and Kazuya obviously has a crazy punish game. So we're seeing the ability to like, oh, it doesn't matter if I make a couple of mistakes as long as I get back to neutral 3 times a stock and then risk it and then be right on one of them and then I win, right? That's kind of where a decent amount of characters in the meta are, right? You have Kazuya, who's the most extreme one. You have Steve, which is like a different one because he also has a really good neutral and also has like blocks and mining, which is why he's broken. And then you have, of course, the other punish characters like Rob, like Peach, like Mario, or like technically they might get out neutraled a lot and they might lose neutral, but then they hit you at 30 and kill you, so does it really matter? Or hit you at 40 and deal 70, so then you're at death percent. Does it really matter? Light does that too with Fox, even though Fox is susceptible to like getting edge guarded and stuff. So there's definitely this like war of kind of how people are considering what the meta of the game is, and I don't really know which one is right. Obviously, I would be remiss. It would be silly for me to just ignore Palatina's advantage state, and this specific Palatina is bad because like she hits you once and can just kill you for a stock because up air is broken and her fast fall is amazing, and then also she has pretty solid neutral. But at the same time, I feel like when I'm playing against a Palatina, I'm not necessarily scared. Like they might beat me, but I'm not scared of the Palatina because her options make sense. She's out of shieldable. She does have an amazing disadvantage state though, because teleport is ridiculous and people are starting to optimize the ledge grabs from around the horizontal on the stage, which is kind of scary. I played Shag in a bunch of friendlies at Collision and he just didn't let me 2-frame him, which is bothersome. I need to learn that shit with Pikachu. Like for real, I really need to learn it if it works with him. But it's an interesting place with the meta kind of being punish game is so important, right? And I want to make a just punish game is more important than neutral because I do think that in general, but I don't know if Palatina is necessarily a good example for hey neutral character because her advantage state is ridiculous because she has an invincible back air and dash attack and one of the best 2-frame moves in the game and also one of the best up airs in the game. So she's not exactly a neutral character. She's kind of a good neutral and punish character, which is why she's broken. But people are talking now about making errors and like forcing errors and forcing scary positions and like bad, like scary mix-ups. And I don't know if Palatina has that. So let me know if you want that as another video. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe, turn on notifications, ring the bell. I have a bunch of Collision videos coming out, so don't worry. I just wanted to make this really quick because it was like relevant to the time. So see you later.